Maigad Ichan Corlia, Yaskan Corlia. Agus le Biana no as Teskin, agus Bogaman Rune in Shaw's Corner Della Tranone in you. Agus Moratesigat, Yaskan Corlia, le Biana no as to medu Santas Ataka a Reti Morgaste, the Ebrini, agus the highly or foot instead, agus Moratesigan, la Quig V. Jaganish, Vedi and Bankanish na Europa and pre-ret Ush J. Were. Agus Tesigan Gullier, Kinfwag will shot Janta, ak. Caimid fasting, you feature like new words, yenu, and chunker at egg shaw, ebrihe, Charlie, agus, greeny moinshin. Ribbon there do rete is journey. Masnu, when there the how costas be and will mortgage, the fee of engaged the highly labricious quick vile €1 Da fihe van gedele rahawan costas dele la goj mortgage Suez €3 agus tareti ush nesh hu heard agus jay van ged again la chili in the roa goj yesak di jail tag na crachesti can you glaku couple of bienyon la takiert of van the gale agus of in the foil ta takiert the Alaskan Corlia and the highly shaw at extrahalt agus is federation takiertschen ohortifa agus and damenesh la a hort an policy agus gríomh a dhéanú an policy and planetic Sinn Féin le fuisú ús mórgaiste sealada a hort iste. Yaskan Corlia, for more than a year now, households have struggled with that cost of living crisis, and for many households, the biggest single expense that they have faced is servicing their mortgage and keeping a roof over their head. In the past 15 months, the ECB have increased its key interest rate 10 times, and we all know the reason for this. But we can't ignore the impact that this is having on workers and families and households right across the state. In the past 15 months, mortgage interest costs have increased by a massive 54%. And before the recent hike that was announced earlier this month, the central bank estimated that 1 in 5 households, 20% of all households, would see their annual mortgage costs increase by more than €5,700 compared to last year. They estimated a further 1 in 3 households would see their annual mortgage costs rise by over €3,000, and a further 1 in 3 households seeing their annual mortgage costs rise by over €1,500. And these are massive, massive income shocks for middle and low-income households across the state. And there are more, as we know, than 80,000 households who's had their mortgage sold off to vulture funds without their consent. Sales that were supported at the time by Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil through the blocking of my legislation. Those households were told by the Taoiseach that they would be no worse off once their mortgages were sold. And as I warned at the time, the sale of mortgages to vulture funds would leave those households exposed to higher interest rates, and that unfortunately has come to pass. These mortgage prisoners, some of them are now paying interest rates as high as 10%. On the 4th of August, I called on the Minister for Finance to convene a meeting of the Central Bank and the banking sector to chart a path for these mortgage holders to return to the mainstream mortgage market. The Minister convened that meeting later that month on the 31st of August, but I have serious reservation about the effectiveness of the measures that were announced. Their mortgages should never have been sold in the first place. What is clear now is that struggling households need action, and they need it now. So for months, Sinn Féin have been calling for the government to act, for the government to get their head out of the sand, for the government to introduce targeted and temporary mortgage interest relief. And that's exactly what this motion calls for Sinn Féin's plan to support these struggling mortgage holders to be introduced. And our plan would support households with 30% of their increased costs since June of 2022. With it capped at a maximum benefit of €1,500 per household that qualifies over the course of the scheme. The plan wouldn't insulate households from the full impact of rising interest rates, but it would provide relief and support to those facing what is a massive income shock, and our plan is affordable. More importantly, it is necessary. So we're now in a situation where retail banks are expected to make combined operating profits of over €5 billion this year, profits that are expected to double compared to last year. And in that context, the banking levy should be increased, and the proceeds could and should be used to support struggling households. So Yaskan Corlia, this is a sensible proposal. It is a necessary proposal. It is one that can be delivered, and it is one that deserves meaningful support from all sections in this House. I am disappointed, but not surprised, that the government again continue to ignore the plight of mortgage holders and will vote against this motion. I ask the Minister for Finance, when will he understand what is happening out there and the fact that he needs to act? He has delayed far too long.